welcome back to Dungeons and Dialogue. We're going to start here with the Askiah campaign. It was a campaign we did much like the Sea of Monsters water campaign, correct, guys?
It's definitely just the water campaign. It was like
Definitely just the water campaign.
Like it's called the Sea of Monsters, but like this one too, like Askiah, it's also got like different parts or whatever. Like
I call this Askiah 1.0.
Yeah, Askiah, sure, 1.0, and then it's like Escaped Fate is the other campaign,
which I call Askiah 2.0.
And it's Askiah 2.0.
The Electric Boogaloo.
And then after that is like the third act where Sam and Nicole fucking come back. And it's like Askiah future. Like it's but it's all just Askiah. Like the whole thing is like this is
in Askiah.
Askiah, yeah, this is what happened. Do you want to scoot this way maybe? And
I fucking...
Well, it's just because I don't want you to pull the mic over.
I want to fuck my mic. It's a great mic.
It's a pretty nice mic. I like it.
I mean,
so we were flipping coins and listening to it, and it was
great. It was fucking clear, crystal. So let's...
From a delicious geyser.
Let's go ahead. Yeah,
spring.
No, a hot, molten, sulfur-covered geyser.
Oh, good.
Just a volcano.
From
Crystal clean,
Yellowstone.
clear, nothing wrong with the geyser water.
No, it's totally good. Yeah, it's fine. That's some D&D bullshit too.
I like to hold my mouth over the geyser.
Oh, we have a lot of
you could definitely just have that in mountains and stuff. Like you have like, oh, it's natural springs and geysers, and then it's like, and these ones have sulfur.
These ones
will kill you, huh?
Are we allowed to be topical on the podcast?
How's it topical?
Like,
no, the joke I want to make.
Oh, I mean,
I'm going to preface it with it's about Flint.
Go for it. I trust your judgment if you think it's okay.
It's just like the clean waters of Flint.
Flint, Michigan. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
because they're still...
All I know is no water's
dirty. You gotta cut that out now. Sorry.
No.
Extra work for you.
Yeah, right, sure. I honestly don't know that much about it.
I'm going to cut at you guys discussing the
water
joke.
Water and it sucked.
Halfway through it to you going, you have to cut it.
Yeah, you have to cut it.
You're like, what?
Hey, Jerry, just cut the whole thing.
So anyways...
welcome to the...
starting with the Askiah campaign, the new campaign we're talking about. I think we're going to address the elephant in the room here. Scott's, I guess, not going to be here for a while. He's got work issues, so he had to drop out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like, he was unavailable for a couple, just because we record kind of in bulk, and he was sick. And then right after that, like, his work schedule changed. So he's not going to be around for a little bit. We're going to try to see what we can work out, but we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get it taken care of.
But the rest of us are going to keep playing D&D and stuff. So.
That's right. Get ready for some D&D content. Some crazy D&D.
But outside of that...
and one of the things that does suck about that, too, is he was in Askiah twice.
Yeah, he was in 1.0 and 2, the Electric Boogaloo.
So he would have been awesome. But we have talked a lot about this fucking campaign, so it's not like it's new to us. We love this fucking campaign. It's super fun.
Yeah, it's one of our favorites.
I definitely enjoy playing it. But speaking of which, let's get into the characters that played in Askiah 1.0. Should we start with the characters who are not with us to talk about their characters? Like
sure.
AJ,
there were quite a few, but we'll just go in order as people come in. So it started with just Sam, Nicole, AJ, and Scott. And Sam was Jack Jackson. You were a ranger.
Yeah, I was a ranger. I started off as a ranger.
And then Nicole was Willow Creek, and she was a druid. And then Scott was Dirk Strider.
Yeah.
And he was a dwarf fighter. And then AJ was Lyle, and he was a rogue. And so one of the things about that, too, is that AJ himself... was new to like the crew. He was new to our group, and just the way he plays games and like his kind of competitive nature was really like clashing. He really wanted to work with. Yeah, he was like a min-maxy rogue who also wanted to like steal from the party and shit. Like, and so it was hard to work with. It wasn't impossible, but we'll get into that, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, so how'd we start?
I mean, the first place I remember starting was I was by myself in the arena, because that's kind of how I wanted to start. And I was fighting Cloaked Ape, it was.
Yeah, I think it's Monster Manual too.
And And I mean,
And
it
this-
took me a little while, but this was like the very first combat I'd ever done.
Mm-hmm. In just all of D&D.
Yeah, like this was the first I played. So it was kind of hard to get to start off with. But I ended up lighting it on fire.
Yeah,
with
that was
oil
awesome.
and then shooting it with a fire arrow.
Because it was like a huge, colossal like place, and
Yeah.
like a whole bunch of people were watching. It was like the common sport of this area.
Yeah.
And then, like, you were just like out there. You're like, okay, I'm gonna fight this thing that is like definitely stronger than me. And I told you that. I was like, this thing's stronger than you. Like, they probably won't let you die, but like you could die. Like, if they won't let it kill you if you're unconscious. But
if I'm not, I'm dead.
if you're not unconscious, yeah, you'll
So,
still.
well, they put it on
Wow.
me, so I had to take it out.
And he was like, I have oil, and he throws it on the ground, and it was fucking awesome, because this thing kept, like, kind of circling around and stuff with him, trying to, like, and it was a distance away at first, so he had a lot of time. And when it tried to come for him, he, like, lit an arrow on fire, shot it into the oil, and, like, passed all the checks for it. And it definitely was right when the cloaked ape was, like, running through it. And so it caught on fire, and it pretty much burned to death. Like, it didn't really survive long.
Yep.
Nice.
And then you did like a crazy good perform where you like wowed the crowd like right away, and it was like your first thing in the arena, like, and you fucking killed this thing with like one arrow.
With fire.
Yeah, and fire.
That's
What I just remembered, Scott and I was in the crowd.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
how we
because
knew him.
you guys saw him, and then he went to like the tavern, right?
Yep. Yep, that was the next place we went, was a local bar.
As you do
To celebrate.
Celebrate. Yep. For
How
victories.
drunk did you guys get?
Pretty drunk.
Probably pretty drunk.
Yeah, we partied.
Party hardy.
They
Yeah.
went and slept in I think those beds in there, because usually they have like
Inns too.
Yeah, I slept in the inn, because outside is...
And like
I slept
AJ,
outside.
like everyone came. It was like Dirk and Willow both came. Lyle also saw the fight, so he came. And then you were going to the bar for victory, so you were all there. And I think you did meet, like, as people. Like, you got together and talked and kind of, like, realized you were going to know each other or whatever, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because it was a new campaign, and you and Nicole were both really new, so I was just like, nope, you're in the bar, these are the people you're, like, gonna like.
Congratulations.
Make it work. And that proved to be more difficult than expected as
Not
well.
as easy as it sounds.
And, like, right off the bat, like, the first thing Lyle does when he's here is he, like, finds, like, a closet with, like, a hidden compartment to go into, like, a wine cellar that was, like, locked. And he, like, picks the lock and gets down there and, like, finds some kind of treasure. It's not a lot, and he complains about it, but it was treasure. I don't remember quite what it was.
Yeah, it was like...
Really good wine or alcohol, yeah. And he just took it and, like, left. And then later that night, or maybe the next morning, the, like, bartender was like, hey, someone fucking stole my shit. Like,
Not
Gee,
cool,
I wonder-
bro.
and
What
you
did
guys
that
were
do?
like, we'll find out who that could have been. Like, and it was definitely, like, you were really new, so, like, at this point, player knowledge, you had no clue, like, what that was.
Yeah.
And you guys just kind of tracked down AJ. You were making sure you found him. And you found him, like, right after he sold it in this market or something. He went to this store and sold it and made some money. And, like, left. And you guys thought you saw him leave, so you went in there and you were like, what the fuck did, like, that last guy just do? And he was like, I don't talk about my clients or anything, dude. And how'd that go?
Well, he should have just told us, because I went into advanced interrogation mode.
Did you fucking take the shit?
Yeah, I pinned him up against the wall, and I punched him as hard as I could.
Oh my god.
And then one of my favorite things, I have a couple really good quotes from Jack Jackson and Sam, just in general in Askiah. And one of my favorite ones, just of all time for Sam as a player, was he punches this guy, and I was like, all right, roll a d6.
Oh
And
my
then
god.
he knocks the shopkeeper clean the fuck out, because he's like a commoner. And later that day, like after we were done playing, Sam was just like, yeah, as soon as you said roll a d6, I knew I fucked up.
Yeah.
And that was one of my favorite, like, things he's ever said.
Hearing about that.
It was really funny. It was...
Yeah, it was harsh.
Because the
Well, more than one
aftermath...
Heard that from you, Dylan, as I just pointed at you, great for
As
this
I
audio
point to you
podcast.
as a good podcast.
And you, Sam, as I point to you for this audio podcast. Heard both of you about that exact same story.
I mean, it was I
was
love
funny.
it. It's funny.
It's a good story.
He has, and there's another one that when we get to it, I'm sure you'll remember, but it's in the future.
Yeah.
Like, yep.
Already.
And that's like my other favorite thing ever. But this campaign, as you can tell, goes for a while.
Yeah.
And it starts off with Lyle stealing shit and getting basically followed. And then, how'd you catch him? What happened?
Well, he put us in jail.
Yeah!
We knocked that guy out.
Because you took him outside of the shop.
Yeah.
You were like, all right, we're gonna.
cautious.
You were like, we're gonna get him to a hospital. But then, like,
up.
the people in the crowd were like, oh my god, they knocked out and they're kidnapping the shopkeeper.
They're totally murdering him.
And then guards were
Wait,
pretty
no.
much like, what? We're gonna stop that. And you guys got straight arrested, and AJ saw it.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. It didn't work out very well
No.
for good old Jack Jackson.
And you guys fucking were in jail, and the guards took all your shit, and AJ like followed you to jail,
Yeah.
and like stole all your shit,
Yeah.
and like he like killed 2 guards. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Sounds
yeah,
really evil.
it was not good. He was just like, I'm gonna steal their stuff at whatever means necessary. Like, these guards are just in the way.
It's hard to pawn.
And to be fair, he hadn't played a lot of D&D either, so I think he was looking at it more like a video game, which is totally fair.
No.
But Sam and Nicole and I, though, we hadn't played like real D&D. We had done like a couple like
Fake session.
yeah, like stories essentially, like just interactive storytelling stuff with D20s. And it worked really well. So they already had like an idea for roleplay, and they weren't as interested in min-maxing, whereas AJ had no idea for roleplay. It was not what he wanted to do. He really wanted to do the stats and stuff like that, which, you know, when you get to like a level like we're at, where we can do kind of both, you can admire that, because like he really can come up with a character that will kick some fucking ass. And it also doesn't necessarily have to be...
It's always been a strong suit in everything he's played.
Exactly. But at the same time, like, one of the things he always struggled with was, at least at this time, I haven't played with him in a while, but it was roleplay.
I don't think he's probably gotten any better.
I don't know, he's played with a couple different groups now,
Oh,
so I would be
Okay.
surprised.
I don't know if once he went off to college, he just kind of dropped out since you weren't his DM.
He hasn't played, I think, since he graduated.
How long ago was that?
Maybe a year and a half, a year, I'm not sure. But he's talked to me about trying to get me to play, and I just haven't had time. Rodney managed to suck me into another one, but it's because he lives with me. It's not quite fair.
I know. Stop that shit.
No, I'm not gonna. It's fun. But yeah, like AJ was just stealing their stuff, and he leaves, and then because these 2 guards are dead, when people show up, I think like the guards let you out because you're like, we fucking saw the guy who did this, and we know who he is. Like,
Yeah.
well, because you saw him, because he like gloated that he had your shit.
And then let the guys out?
No.
What a shit.
Yeah, it was really fucking bad.
Yeah, it was really bad.
And I was already like telling him like, dude, like you gotta like you gotta tone back this like really antagonistic vibe here, man. Like you should have helped them out of the cells if anything and ditched town. Like that would be a very rogue thing to do. But no, he's like, I'm gonna steal their shit and kill some guards.
I'm gonna make this
All
fun.
in a day's work.
And then
Yeah,
like other guards show up like a couple hours later, and because you say like you know who did it, they let you out on like the agreement that you'll go. Yeah, that's what it was. They let you out, and then they introduced you to the Yellow Wizard to make sure
Yeah.
you would do it, and he had you find AJ. That was the first thing, because that's why you did. You guys went and found him and caught him and got all your shit back. And then when you like you were talking to him, he had like all your shit, and he just like showed up in like the lobby and was like talking to you, and you had set up a total trap. You had like 2 guards coming.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Who like were
We were ready, man. He stole our shit.
Very careful.
and,
around the
and
situation.
Sam was basically like, I'm just going to confront him and talk to him about like, hey man, like we need to talk, we need to have a conversation.
Did you just steal my shit in front of me?
Right, and and as he like admits to it, he's like, yeah, I totally killed those 2 guards. These 2 other guards are walking up, and they're like, all right, good enough for us, and like arrest his ass and give all Sam and Nicole and Scott their shit back. And then they're like, you know what, fucking take AJ's character's gold too and shit. Like, it was like, no, punishment, dude. You
like,
killed 2
okay.
guards. And then he went to jail, and it was hard to get him out of jail for a second. No, he didn't go to jail. They put the Yellow Wizard curse. That was why the Yellow Wizard cast a spell like a Geos, like a high level shit that was like AJ couldn't betray you guys. and he was really mad.
Yeah, he did not like it.
He did not like it.
I'm pretty sure he tried to get rid of it, and then
He tried to get rid of it continuously.
And just couldn't put it back on.
And he tried everything. He was clever with it, man.
He almost got it a couple of
And
times.
a couple of times, I was like, fuck.
He did die.
He did die. Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of shit.
The bird was just like, nah.
Poof.
But we talked to the Yellow Wizard, and he put the curse on us. A curse, and I'd say it in quotation marks because it was a blessing for
Everyone else.
and
Mhm.
and Willow and Jack Jackson, but it was not a blessing for AJ's character.
Right.
Kyle.
I mean, yeah.
But it was
Oh,
still-
man. Yeah, because that was crazy, because the Yellow Wizard was like a quest master for a little bit.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, man, so now that you guys have to do stuff.
Be a good party.
Yeah, now that you have to play the game.
Followed by like 3 days.
Go on an
side.
adventure together, because there's this fucking thing
That's happening.
called a Red Goblin Totem.
Yeah.
And this fucking dude in the north. Nice
Wow,
job.
dude.
This
This is a
fucking.
podcast, right?
He's destroyed whoever that was.
That's alright. I don't know what it was. Oh, nice. But like. What was I saying? He was like.
You got a quest to go get the Red Goblin Totem.
Yeah, because he's like, there's this dude in the north who's like already started to build like a pretty.
Cool bro.
Yeah, pretty big zombie skeleton army. Like
He's
undead.
He's what we call an asshole.
Yeah, and they were like. They were literally like, what's gonna happen? And the Yellow was just like, that's the fucking thing. We're gonna fucking die. Like, we got nothing. No real, like, support. There's not a lot of heroes. Like,
Yeah.
this dude has way too many undead.
Just things.
And
in
he's
general.
trying to get this thing called the Red Goblin Totem, which, when you hold it, lets you, like, completely control goblins, basically as if you were a necromancer. So it doubled his army size, but half of it was goblins, and the other half was undead. And he just had complete control if he got this totem, but he didn't have it yet. And so the Yellow Wizard is like, you need to go get it, and make sure that
Chop,
you can't
chop.
get that. Because he's definitely going to try.
Sam, what was your reaction to finding this out?
I was like, we gotta get that. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna let a evil guy parade all over my cities.
Because Jack Jackson was really a noble dude.
What about you, Nicole? What was your immediate reaction to finding out about this?
I was like, I didn't want the forest to get destroyed.
Yeah.
I'm just going for the forest.
No, not the forest. It's like 3 of you guys like, oh man, all of us are gonna die. And Nicole's like, shit, the forest.
Yeah.
Oh god, the trees! The trees!
Oh man,
What am I gonna do
I gotta stop this guy.
without
Yeah.
the trees?
I love the trees.
And
If it
so,
didn't have
like,
anything to do with the trees, I probably would.
Are the trees gonna be fine? I'm fine. Good.
and you guys decided, like, you wanted to gear up or something, I think, and you like, traveled to another city
You
because,
try
you
to
know,
steal your shit.
As you do.
he couldn't.
I don't know.
He tried to slip out of it, but I never let him, and basically they fought some simple stuff, like goblins, and actually quite a bit of undead, because I was like, no, like, there's a bunch of them around now, like,
The problem.
That was kind of one of our main enemies, right? I remember right from the start, the first thing we fought was a zombie.
yeah, you were going through, like, a swampy area.
Yeah.
Because you were heading straight to this place that they told you to go. You were like, and on the way was Brule, but right after was the swamps.
That's right.
Do you have that folder?
Yeah.
Sam was over there making a bunch of noise with it earlier.
Didn't we
Oh.
go after that to the wizard place?
I'm sorry.
Huh?
The wizard place? Did
Oh,
we go
let's
after that?
see.
That might be Brule, I think, that has the museum
Yeah,
you're
we went
talking
to
about.
Brule. Brule had the Museum of Magic in it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Brule. I'm getting the map out too just to see it for myself because I love these maps are really cool. I'll probably since Joey you're mixing this, I will
Scan those in.
yeah I'll scan these up because these are all really cool.
Do that to me in a timely fashion, Sam.
Don't
I'll
do
try to
it.
get it to
Wait,
tomorrow.
take your
Oh, that'd
time.
be cool.
Screw Joey.
No, don't ruin the channel that way, dude.
Wow,
Ruin the channel.
Rude dude.
A little dramatic, but
Rude dude, man.
rude dude, Sam.
Yeah.
Rude dude, Sam.
I can't believe I even thought about looking at you today.
Face.
In the face.
How dare
Of a
you.
comment like that.
So many fucking maps.
I know, it's almost like you drew a shit ton because you were bored.
And I even lost some of them.
Wow!
There's definitely not all of them in here. I have a huge box of miscellaneous D&D stuff, man.
You gotta figure that shit out.
We've gone it a couple times. D&D. The thing is, like, we always use our shit, like, again.
Yeah.
Like, because we're literally like,
No, that's
no,
fair,
like.
but you gotta put it back.
But sometimes back is a different folder now.
So make
Yeah,
a
but
photocopy with
story.
that cool
But we
scanner.
haven't done that.
You gotta!
Well, I have it.
Do you have a printer I can use?
No, but kind of like tax season, I was thinking if I had the extra money to get like a decent filing cabinet with actual rails.
Yeah, I have a filing
Doors.
cabinet. The rails are super cheap. I just have to get a hold of some myself. I haven't bothered.
If you can find
Bother.
some, let me know. And let me know how much they
Oh,
are.
bother. I think we might have left those downstairs. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
Good
cool.
job.
Well, so I got the folders.
But yeah, you guys went to Brule and like you were trying to steal stuff. AJ was like, "Well, if I
No,
can't,"
it's not that we were trying to steal stuff. It's that we went to Brule, and it was nighttime, and AJ was like, "I'm gonna go to the Museum of Magic and steal stuff."
and but
So
the thing
you're trying
was, well, the thing was is that so at this point they recognized that AJ couldn't fuck with them,
Yeah.
so he might as well go into the Magic Museum and steal some shit
Yeah,
that they could all use. Like that wasn't too bad, and it was definitely like I will let him try to steal some shit.
Yeah.
Like
I
that's
just decided that like it's better to join than to fight because I also wanted to steal stuff.
yeah.
Like,
Jack Jackson's actually a thief.
Well-
Yes. Besmirch his name as
Well,
such.
he was new. He was learning
yeah,
how
he
to.
was learning. He's not a thief anymore.
No, but
But
no.
once
He
a
never
thief,
really
always a thief.
stealed. He just
Yeah,
let.
he just
He just
allowed
allowed
to
it.
watch.
Yeah, paladin. He was no paladin.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But like the first, you guys decided to go into the museum during like the daytime to like scope out what was in it.
There's this cool old dude there.
Yeah, he was the guy he was like the curator who owned this museum,
He was a cool dude.
and he like collected all this shit himself. And he was like this super old like elf, I think, maybe a
He met
gnome.
us at the door.
Yeah,
He was at the door smoking from a pipe.
that makes
Wow,
sense. He's
chilling
just this
out.
old dude.
What a cool guy.
Yeah,
And,
he's a really cool guy.
And like he showed him a couple different magic things, and then he was like, actually, like there's like a whole bunch of people lined up in this one area. He's like, we're doing a demonstration that we only do once every year, where someone can draw a card from the deck of many things, which is a super fucking cool item that I knew they would like, and I knew it had major consequences involved, like
But sometimes major reward.
and sometimes
But
major rewards.
sometimes make your rewards.
Well, here's the thing.
Sometimes it really keeps you on a prayer there.
Well, so he's like, I'll let you guys draw a card, and who Scott goes first, right? Like Scott's the guy who he lets draw the
Yeah,
first
I think so,
like
yeah.
card, and like immediately it was like gain 5 fighter levels, and everyone was like, I want to draw a card, like, like next to me, and so they all like went in order, and I don't know the exact order, but I know that like
I feel like I went next.
Sam draw a lot.
Yeah, I drew
Sam
a lot.
draw a lot. Like,
Yeah.
He drew the most.
you kept drawing cards. Most of them weren't too bad.
Most
Like,
of them were just like lame.
yeah,
Which is
and
damn
the,
it.
the big ones that I remember, I don't know in any particular order, but I know Scott also got a fucking deed to a stronghold
Yeah.
that we actually do have maps for
Yeah.
in the room, but they had so many rooms. Like
It's a
it
good
had,
fucking stronghold.
it had everything. Like it
Yeah.
was. And
That's
then,
almost like a home away from home.
so Scott, in like 10 minutes, went from this level 1 fighter to this
It was
level
okay.
to this level 6 fighter with a stronghold
It
and
was
a
way cooler.
and a party of level 1s. And I was like, wow, this deck kind of fucking unbalanced everything. But it was okay, because Scott was also pretty new. He was not as new as Sam and Nicole, though.
Yeah.
And so then AJ's turn comes up, and immediately his card is, you have a battle with a white for your life, and you have to kill it, or you die. And he was level 1 and a rogue, and he couldn't use his sneak attacks on undead, which pissed him off the whole campaign until he finally cracked at a point. But like, it was pretty cool. Honestly, I had him teleported to this like completely like dark area where he could still see, but it was not like normal. And like there was no ground. He was just standing because he thought he was standing. Like some plane, but I wasn't really honestly good enough at the game with the plane stuff yet to know where that would be. And this white just fucking kills him, like no problem.
Yeah.
And so he's super pissed, and then I have his body just appear on the floor in the room.
Well, that's a real tizzy.
And then someone is immediately like, I want to draw a card. And I'm like, are you fucking for real? Like, and I think it's Sam.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Was that sword from that?
No.
No.
I drew a card that summoned the gnome god.
Yeah, you got one that you got cursed by. An outsider was upset with you.
Yeah.
And it was Gnarl Glittergold.
Gnarl Glittergold?
The god of gnomes and riches or whatever.
Yeah,
And I could have picked like a celestial or something.
This
but
is before other times.
I was like, no, this is like a big deal. And he came down and he was literally like, what the fuck? Why am I so pissed off at you?
This just pisses me off.
And Sam was like, I mean, and he's like, what's that in your hand? It's like a card from the deck. He's like, it's a card? He's like, picks up the deck like Gnarl does. And he's like, okay, this is some bullshit. This thing made me really mad at this guy for no fucking reason. And I'm not cool with that because it worked on me. And I'm like, God.
I'm also not cool with that.
And so he's super mad at Sam. And then AJ is like, wait, I'm dead on the ground, but there's a god here, and he's upset with this deck. Can he bring me back to life? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like,
Roll.
Roll. And it's not super high, but then he keeps arguing it, and it was high enough that I was like, okay, fine, but like, I'm not just gonna give it to you guys. So Gnarl Glitter Gold asks who owns the deck, and the old museum curator comes up, and he's like, I do. He's like, why would you let it be used so irresponsibly? And he's like, honestly, it got really out of hand really fast, and I didn't know what to do. And Gnarl Glitter Gold, like, put his finger to the old man's head, and he, like, turned to dust. And then AJ was like, and he fucking didn't even lose a level.
Wow.
Yeah.
He killed the curator. Definitely a cool guy.
Yeah. For Lyle, who so far has betrayed them. And then he's like, wait, that fucking quest thing that Gyasi gave me, totally the words were like, until your death, you cannot harm, like, the party. And he totally fucking died. Yeah. So they fucking drag his ass back to the Yellow Wizard again. And they, like, put the fucking shit back on him. And he's super mad. But I was like, nope, they pull it off. And they were super mad at him.
Did you grapple him, like, the whole way?
Pretty much.
I think they tied him up or something.
Yeah, we tied him up and just walked back.
Yep. That's great.
We, like, carried him.
The whole party's like,
yeah, that's not
this mistake.
And then after that, the cool thing was you guys went to your stronghold for the first time.
Yeah, we hung out there for a while.
That was fun. We had everything.
Yep. We had everything.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
We should list off a couple of things that we just had.
We had a torture dungeon and
we had none of that.
A torture dungeon and
no torture dungeon.
And 4 more torture dungeons.
Okay, it was 3 floors. The first floor, the walls were all ramparts all around the entire thing, so that's like just the big, huge defended walls from castles and stuff. There was both a basement and a second floor. There's a throne room with a throne, like, right at the north of the whole thing. There's an armory. There's a small council room. There's a small monastery. There's a mess hall. There's a duel room. There's a kitchen. There's a cold food storage location.
Yeah, as you do.
There's a west and an east barracks on each, obviously, side. There's an archery range. There's a summoning circle. There's an alchemy lab. There's an indoor garden. There's a fletching room.
God damn.
And this is just the first floor. There's an infirmary. That's the first floor. The second floor is a little different. It's got restrooms on, like, the north, east, and west sides.
But not the south? Not the south?
No, it's just the north.
Wow.
I didn't want to take up too much room. I wanted to give them larger bedrooms.
Oh, okay.
So each of them had a bedroom, and they're all, similar stuff. Like, there's, like, a large bed. There's, like, counters and shelves and stuff on them, and tables and chairs. Yeah. But each room's laid out differently, which I thought was, a good touch. Yeah. And then there's a fucking theater with a whole bunch of fancy chairs and stuff, and a pool room with a jacuzzi too. Like, this castle was awesome. And that's like the whole fucking second floor. It's just R&R.
Yeah.
And then the basement. Oh, also this is called the Strider Stronghold.
Why is it called the Strider?
Because it was Scott's and he was Dirk Strider.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. It had a portal room, which became incredibly influential.
Yeah.
In the basement.
It was good.
It had a skooma grow room, which skooma, if you don't know, is from Skyrim, and it's like the illegal, like, substance that people peddle.
You gotta refine the moon sugar into the fucking skooma and sell it for a good price.
No moon sugar.
All of the moon sugar.
But so that was like a big thing that was already down there when they got this whole place. All this stuff was already here. It was a total freebie. Scott was like, and Scott owned it. It was nothing like it's Scott's. Right. And on top of that, Scott's like background for his dwarf was that he had been a prince who was banished from his home. And on top of that, when they were in the Magic Museum looking around and stuff, and they were first, like, not really talking to the curator. They had, like, walked off after that and stuff, and were still thinking about, no, he was dead.
Yeah.
And they were thinking about stealing stuff still.
Goddamn.
And, because AJ wouldn't give it up. And, like, there were these spells that were, like, barriers around some of it. And AJ, like, couldn't get into them, because I was like, no, you fucking killed the curator. Like, fuck you. You're not taking all this shit. But I think I might have given you guys something, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, like, Scott recognized the barrier spell, and no one else did. And so he was just like, that's a barrier spell! So the reason we came up with that was because that's what his family used when they, like, his family was cooed.
Yeah.
And then they didn't kill him. They definitely killed his dad, the king.
Right in front of him.
Yeah, right in front of him.
He had a comment.
But then they cooed, and they didn't kill Scott, but they kicked him out and put a barrier spell up so he couldn't come back. And that was why he became an adventurer. And so when he gets this stronghold and he gets all these levels, it suddenly looks like this, like, faded royal, like, this dude's going places, like, for sure. It just, the game just said, yeah, him.
Yeah, he's supposed to be royalty.
And so that's, like, the stronghold. It was, like, it was already his and stuff. It was just all prepared with all kinds of shit for, like, basically an army. Like,
Yeah.
there was mining supplies room that went underground into the mines.
We had a
and
bunch of like weapons too.
Yep. Yeah, you had like on the first floor there was like a huge barracks on both sides. There's weapon storage, archery ranges.
Yeah.
You had a huge skooma storage, skooma supplies, and then you had a fucking private dungeon jail cell thing.
Yeah, just in case.
And it's cell A, B, C through J,
There's a lot of torture dungeons.
and then a mess hall and a kitchen
not
floor.
torture dungeons. Necessary in case we're attacked. Jailer.
Yeah, it worked so well the last time. Huh?
I mean, to be fair, they got used.
Yeah.
Over the, like,
Yeah. I mean, we used pretty much everything that we had.
yeah. It was a really cool stronghold. We'll definitely upload.
We spent a lot of time there, like in between what we were doing.
Mm-hmm. It was like constantly where you guys were going.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really good. Definitely one of my favorite campaigns.
You just started growing that skooma in the cellar.
Yeah, and that was like, well, because it was already there, and then Nicole was a druid,
Yeah.
and she was just like, oh, I can fucking make this shit explode, like.
Yeah, and like
I got the
that night while she was doing it, AJ went and wanted to rob from the town, and he found
There's a mansion.
his main boss of all crime,
Mhm.
Maroney.
I love that dude.
Yeah, Donald Maroney.
Don Maroney.
That dude.
But he was a cool guy.
He went by Don, and it was literally because I was watching Gotham, and that dude was fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, 100% just making him.
What up, Don?
He's cool. Yeah, and AJ like finds his warehouse, and they knew who Maroney was just because.
Yeah,
Yeah,
AJ
okay.
held like a knowledge local or something like that. And he was like, you were like, yeah, this is the big head honcho
Like-
boss, Don Maroney.
Yeah, crime boss, like, he's gonna get away with whatever he wants, like...
Yeah, don't rob from Don Maroney. And AJ was like, alright, I'll break in.
Alright, where's
Yeah.
where's this place where he's keeping all his goods? And I'm like, I don't know, man, figure it out. And he does.
Yeah,
So
he
he
does.
And so he finds this, like, place where Don Maroney's moving all kinds of shit. And, like, all these dudes are in there. And AJ literally sneaks through the whole fucking place, kills, like, one or two dudes to make sure he gets through it. Like, fucking straight up Metal Gear's it, for real.
Yeah.
And he gets through this whole place, gets, like, what was it? He got a griffin egg, that was for sure.
Yep.
A bunch of gold, and, like, he was really begging, because you guys were fighting a lot of undead when you were just walking around. He was like, rogues can't crit undead, but there's this thing in Pathfinder that lets you crit undead as a rogue. Can I please have it? And I was like, no! And then
No, fuck you.
for, like, weeks, he's like, can I please have this thing? Because we're fighting so many undead, and I don't want to stop being a rogue, but I can't kill the undead, and it's really upsetting.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Cry.
and so it,
Right, you want to see me
it got to nice professional Joey.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I thought that was muted from work.
Wow.
So
Let's just take a moment and understand how unprofessional Joe is.
it's true.
You roast me, please.
But then, so he got these daggers that were like he could actually use a sneak attack on undeads with them and crit them and stuff, and that was what was important because then he gets a sneak attack bonus.
Yeah, right.
And so it did work out. It made him a lot stronger for the setting. And then like right when he comes back to you guys with all this stuff, like Nicole immediately is just like, what is that? That egg.
What's that egg you got right there?
And he's like, I'm not sure. And like Nicole like takes it and does like a knowledge like nature and like passes. And I'm like, it's a griffin egg. And she's like, this is mine. Like, sorry to tell you, I know you stole this, but I'm keeping it. Like 100%.
Gave it willingly then.
Yeah, he was like, he knew he couldn't keep it. Like, he was like, no, this is logical. So, like, no, that worked out pretty well, though. It was, because he still got the daggers he wanted, and he kept all the gold, which was a sizable amount.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think after that, because you guys were kind of traveling around trying to get stronger, you didn't necessarily think you had the strength, maybe, for the Red Goblin Totem thing yet, because you had started fighting a lot of undead on the way or something. So you went to the arena and fought as a group to try to get some XP.
Yeah, we just kind of chilled out for a while, I think is what it was. Like, we were just in town. Maroney hired us to grow sweetly.
Yeah, that was right.
We'll get a bunch of money out of
That's
it.
harsh.
Yeah, I remember that. Those were good times, huh?
Yeah,
They were making, like,
before.
It was literally like they would get like 40,000 coins
Yeah,
a month.
Same shit.
And then they were, yeah, that's right. And then they would, they literally would play in long enough sessions where it's like, no, you guys just continue fighting in the arena, and we would play like a few arena fights, and we would say like several weeks were passing, and you were just continuing to do this, and we would give like kind of a passive time scale to it. But because of that, like a month would pass, and you'd get paid again, and like you'd buy more shit and continue to fight in the arena. And you guys got strong enough that you were like, all right, we're gonna go to the dungeon.
Yeah, it's time.
And so it was like in a huge swamp, and then when you got through the swamp, there was this lake that had like a huge stone bridge, and like you just walked on.
He actually had that too.
Good job. It's almost like you were prepared today.
Yeah, everyone messaged me to just take everything I own with me. So it's like, no problem, guys. I'll just
just
pack
grab everything.
my life and bring it. It's easy now. I'm just fucking it, but yeah.
I can bring everything you own.
So, like, this was the bridge, and you just came into this big room, and it was just a really simple dungeon, because it was your first major dungeon I'd ever really made for you guys. So I just had really big open hallways and really big open rooms, and then, like, this one square right here in the middle was, like, this trap door that you could go down.
Yeah.
But, like, if you laid over the second map, the basement was, like, this huge maze. It was totally like different. So you
definitely
had
have
like
to send me these pictures.
yeah, and then the third layer was like I think even lower maybe, or maybe higher. I don't remember. This might be a different one actually. This looks like a different one.
You create them in Photoshop.
I'm just gonna scan them in because these look good in my opinion. I worked really hard on these. I was working at a call center, and I could just do this like all the time while I was on calls and stuff. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
They were way more lenient when I started there.
I mean, overnight's still great, dude.
I mean, I hope so.
But Yu-Gi-Oh decks.
These mazes the maze was where I was having a lot of fun with them, because mazes are pretty tough in D&D, just in general. They're kind of slow. Hold this for a second.
No.
Please. And then, they're just kind of not the fastest experience, so you have to kind of put stuff in them that makes it, like, worth being in here.
Yeah.
You traditionally have a big old boss monster.
Right. And they had already gone through the entire, like, this whole place and cleared out everything.
Yeah, and that's actually where AJ stole the sword that I donned later, which was the Sword of Paylor. And it had a fire effect that you could. It had the fire enchantment. You could just light it on fire whenever you wanted. And that was kind of what Jack Jackson did after that. He started just praying solely to Paylor and like getting fire.
Well, and how'd you get the sword?
AJ stole it from like a pedestal,
somewhere in here,
dungeon.
Stole it or acquired it.
It was like a shrine or something.
He got cursed from stealing it, and then he gave it to me because he thought that the curse would go with the sword, and it's not. I got the cool benefits of having a Paylor sword without the nasty, painful benefits of stealing from a Paylor crypt.
And AJ had a total curse because and I think he got rid of it pretty quickly, but
you're probably dying again and coming back.
Yeah, maybe. This one wasn't nearly as severe. It was just like -2 to stuff for like a day or something. But like they got through the dungeon on the first floor, get into the bottom maze, and there was first off a Minotaur, of fucking course.
Yeah.
Mazes
and Minotaurs go together.
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding. It was a regular one.
And as they're going through, they make their way and find this one huge room that has a like a circle just a hole, and it's like crazy deep, like
way too big hole.
And they're like, what the fuck? And like someone throws like a torch in, and it just keeps falling, and they never hear it hit the floor. It just goes out. They don't see it anymore, and they're like, wow, like crazy deep.
It's nuts.
And I think one of the other rooms you guys went to had like these levers that you started fucking with.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
pulling random
And
levers.
it changed the water level on the like floor above you. Like it like made the water rise so that it was above the whole first floor now. Like it was just submerged, but you were underground in the basement. And like you would close the door behind you. And the way the door was made is like water. You know, if you opened it, would come down, but it was able to close, and it was closed right now. And that worked. You guys were going down and going through all these places and fucking with levers and stuff, and then
Having fun, having a good time.
the Minotaur
Yeah.
finds them.
Yeah, we were in his bedroom, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
We're like in the bedroom and we hear him like coming down the hallway and everyone hides. And everyone's hidden. Like
Except,
AJ is
like-
great at hiding.
Yep.
Nicole takes one of the only spots. And Scott hides in one of the only spots too, and there was nowhere for me to hide. And I was just like standing in the middle. And the Minotaur comes in and he's like, "Oh, intruder!" And I've got a huge charisma because I'm doing perform checks and everything in the arena.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this Minotaur come through the door, and I can speak any language that I want because I got a stone that lets me speak any language
Stone?
at all. Yeah,
I think that's what I called it.
Yeah. that makes
Genuinely.
sense.
Yep. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm looking for the intruders too. Come on, man, let's find them together." And I rolled a high enough diplomacy check that he decided to go and look for the intruders with me. And I'll just let them out of the room, and they tried to find a way out while we were there. Like, while they were in the room. I don't know what was going on, but we were just wandering through the maze.
Right.
I was wandering with the Minotaur. Just
And that worked out, like, because you totally fooled him, and you're looking for these intruders, and they're all hanging out in his bedroom, like,
fuck.
what the fuck do we do? And I think at this point you even had kind of completed the maze. Like, you would...
Yeah, we, like, the Minotaur's room, like, had what we wanted.
Yeah,
I think he had the Goblin Totem.
Yeah, I think he did. And so you guys had that, and then you led him all the way, and you were like, you or him was like, they must be on the first floor.
Yeah, he was like, "Come on, let's go
They have
check."
to be.
And he like led me to the ladder, and I was behind him, and I didn't know that we had activated
that's
the water
garbage.
trap.
Yeah, it was
Like,
awesome. The
I learned-
Minotaur didn't know either.
Of course not.
Nope. And so
Surprise.
he goes all the way up, and it was a pretty big ladder.
Yeah.
And like
30,
he like
40
turns
feet.
the valve fucking thing, which releases the
Pressure.
fucking pressure, and the water just fucking immediately starts flooding in. And like the Minotaur immediately fails his strength check to hold on to this fucking ladder, and Sam
Hold on. The Minotaur
yeah
failed his strength check?
immediately,
Oh, that's great.
and then Sam immediately fails his strength check to hold on to the
If the
ladder.
Minotaur did, Sam, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And they're starting to get rushed down like all these halls. It's going like boof, 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 boof. And Sam realizes at like some point like it's gonna go through the whole maze, and then the hole,
Yeah.
the giant hole of absolute definite death.
Yeah.
If you weren't dead already from getting literally bashed around the maze the whole time, and he was taking damage the whole time. Like,
Yeah, it
Sam,
was-
you're a champion. I want you.
yeah, he was so far still alive.
and you get to the point where you're passing the Minotaur's room, and like the others are like looking down the hallway, like, what the fuck is that
We could
noise?
hear him screaming.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, this doesn't sound good at all. And suddenly, like, this torrent of fucking water is, like, really coming down the hallway. And they're like, oh, fuck. Like, and they actually managed to grab Sam's hand. And, like, you guys do get him in, but the Minotaur, he, like, grabs the handle of the door, but then isn't able to pull himself in, and just,
And it's just like,
and
it was crazy.
the water starts getting into his room, but not, like, as badly. It's just, like, it's filling up quick, but you still have, like, time to answer for it. And figure out what you're doing, and he had a fucking chimney, and
Wow.
the chimney
That's
definitely
convenient.
he had it.
it was in there before the
was-
water started flowing through.
No shit.
and so
and there was a
when
fire in it when we started.
a huge amount of water came in and definitely like put the fire out, and they were
Scott's
like,
like-
"We can go up the chimney."
Scott's just like, while you're being fucked up in the water, I just built this chimney.
Actually, I think Scott had the hardest time getting out of the chimney because he was a dwarf.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, why?
I think
He'd be good at climbing because
He was good at climbing, but it was a really tight, tiny space.
He's small.
He's very stout.
Oh, you're
Why?
stout.
And so,
Wow, dude.
just for real, as a dwarf he was. And he had a huge strength and stuff, and a plate mail.
Skinny. Okay.
And so what they ended up doing, is I think everyone climbed out first, and then, tied ropes to him and, pulled him up as the water was starting to rise into the chimney.
Should have brought some butter.
And they do get him all the way out, and everyone's, now on the first floor where, the entire lake is, completely now empty. It has become...
How do you feel about Scott getting stuck in the chimney?
It was funny.
It's funny, yeah. I mean, true.
And so, you guys get all the way out, and you're like, fuck yeah, we have the Red Goblin totem, we drained a lake.
Yeah.
Life's looking good.
Change the landscape.
And, then of all fucking things, the Minotaur is like, hey!
He crawls out of the
Intruders! Oh, shit! And he's like, I think you're an intruder!
I tried to get him to, not think we were intruders. I was like, whoa, I caught him, look! He was like, I don't believe you. He was definitely not happy about the whole...
And then you guys killed him.
Yeah, I one-shotted him.
He was already...
He was dead either way.
I one-shotted him with my bow in between the eyes.
Yeah, mega
critical, nat 20. And
wow.
And Scott took his head and he made it into a belt.
Yeah.
What did the belt do?
Nothing.
Wow.
It's just a cool belt.
I would have enchanted that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It gives me bull strength.
Yeah.
Just stare at someone.
That makes sense. That's probably something you still could do if you were looking to make an artifact.
So, after that, we started to you headed back, I think.
Yeah.
You got the Yellow Wizard again.
Yeah,
You found
we went
him.
to the beach and talked to the Yellow Wizard back exactly where we talked to him the first time. And he was when we met him it was fine, and then we showed him the Red Goblin totem and he started acting weird as hell.
Yeah.
Typical, I was the good guy, now guess what? Lols, I'm the bad guy. And we realized that a little late.
Apocalypse.
And he tried to take the road.
Well, he started walking around. Everyone was standing still and he was talking to everyone, and then he just kept walking around, and he made a circle in the sand first with his walking. Wow. And then he started walking lines into the circle, and they were like, wait, what's he doing? That's awesome. And then as they kind of started to figure it out, he was like, I'm pretty much done with my circle. And so
hold on a second.
They all kind of stepped outside of the circle that they were definitely in. And they were like, okay, we're kind of confused what's up with this guy. And they back off, and they're holding the totem, and they're all kind of separate. They're pretty distant from each other because the way they were all standing in a circle already when they were talking. And he cast this thing that gave him a whole bunch of teleports. It was this ritually done so that he was no, I'm really set. But they didn't know that's what it did. He definitely just cast on himself.
Yeah.
And then immediately, I don't know who was holding it first, but it was really cool because he teleports to whoever has the totem.
I think it was Dirk.
Yeah, probably Dirk. And he starts doing casting really close range and pretty big attacks. And
fireball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Scott took a bunch of damage and was man, and I'm the high level character. But Scott walloped him a couple times. He was still a wizard.
Yeah, right.
But he was really high level.
Walloped?
Yeah, walloped, man. He was a big dude. It wasn't a hit, it was definitely a wallop. He had a battle axe and a battle hammer.
Yeah, right. He kicked his ass. He hit him hard.
And then Scott was getting low enough that he's I'm gonna die. And someone was toss it here, and they fucking threw the totem, and the wizard teleported right the fuck over and was
he threw
fireball.
And she did that, and I think did she try to dodge him and roll back and try to hit him with something, and you hit him with something, and then you threw it to somebody else.
Yeah, everyone kept just getting him. Okay, I can't do this anymore. Next person.
I think the last person we threw to was Lyle, and he just missed it.
It was by 1 or 2.
Yeah, it was he rolled 1 under what the DC was, and he dropped it for a second. And the Yellow Wizard poofed underneath him and grabbed the totem, and it poofed away. And his health was like at 1.
He was like really gonna die. And I was like, I can't believe AJ missed. No! And just like that, the fucking totem was totally gone. Like
taken to
for just bullshit.
Yeah, right.
It's because of one bad roll.
It wasn't even his fault. I don't blame him. It was a great battle though.
But I think that about this time was when Nicole's griffin had like become fully grown too.
Yeah.
We stayed at the mansion and we leveled up our skills.
Nice. For a little bit after, because we were depressed at that we lost the goblin totem. We're like,
Oh.
we're gonna do some more arena fights just for whatever.
And
I think
Yeah,
on
my
the-
griffin was amazing.
I think on the way back we actually ran into that group of druids that you really
they were
liked.
cool.
It was because we went and we
Right.
talked to the yellow wizard. I think on the way back to the place we ran into the group of druids that you.
Yeah, I forgot that story.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
I
well,
know that I blessed them.
well, it was cool. You guys went through. You guys were party players. Your characters like to drink. You guys like to have fun.
Yeah.
And so one of the things you did when you got to this, there was just this rave in the fucking woods, is what it was. You got to this fucking druid colony, and they were like, "Yeah, guys, everybody party, hippie nation, it's druid time!" Like,
You guys went to D&D Coachella?
Yeah.
and
Druid Coachella.
it was just this really cool little place, and they were having a really good time there. And then like Nicole did some like awesome nature thing, and like did some like blessing or some kind of like big craft or something. Some big druid spell that was really good for the community, and she rolled high enough on like her check that she got Ilona's attention, which is a goddess of nature, and she like blessed this city and was like, I will protect this city, like if anything comes to harm it.
Yeah.
And it was awesome, and like there was like this druid elder who like thanked them and gave Nicole like a shit ton of gold and like some druid treasure shit. I think
Some good druid.
I think
shit.
she
Druid
might have gotten
treasure
your
shit.
first griffin armor even. Like the stuff you
Yeah,
needed for that.
probably.
Yeah, some armor for your.
She was
animal.
pretty cool.
You always
Mhm.
like
I
to
believe
buff
her.
out your animals.
And then you guys did that at one point, and then I think that was around the same time you're leveling this griffin and stuff anyway.
We're talking.
And that started to make you guys feel better because you were still getting levels and stuff.
It was one of those times that when we had that griffin that we finally started aging it up, that we went and talked to Maroney, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, griffins!
Yeah.
I love griffins!
Oh, Griffin.
I had a griffin!"
And then he told us
I definitely like got a griffin egg,
Something happened to
and
it.
it's just gone.
Yeah, that's
Weird.
some bullshit. I killed the guy responsible.
Yeah, like, I killed the guy who fucked up.
Yeah, he's dead now.
But I'm so jealous of your griffin. And he's even like, will you sell it? Nicole's like, not a chance. He's like, I can get that. I can't even blame you. That's
I
awesome.
understand.
So,
Understandable.
and Maroney also had this quirk where he always hated one person in the room, but it shifted. It did not have to be the same person every
It
time.
was almost like always Dirk or
Lyle.
It was great.
Because they would say something stupid, and the first person to say something stupid, Maroney's like, I don't like him.
Yeah.
right? I did whatever I could to make him money.
I had an experience with that when I was DMing,
Mm-hmm.
where I had a fucking two characters go up to the door of the mayor of the town, middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And the one of them who's just thinking is like, okay, so how do we? He's already, I can see him thinking, how are we going to do this? Got to knock, ask the right questions because it's the middle of the night. He's going to be upset. The other character just immediately knocks as loud as he can. He just starts super disrespecting the mayor.
Sounds like Howler. Been there.
I wonder.
It was great. The mayor hated that character the whole rest of the time.
That makes sense.
We were super nice to Maroney because
Yeah,
he
he
was
was
like
cool.
giving us so much money.
I
Yeah.
intimidated / impressed the shit out of Maroney.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys had... Maroney was cool because he was important in Askiah 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And
Scott's face lit up
pretty important in
immediately.
3 too, actually. He really never stopped being important. He was a cool dude.
Yeah.
Shit just changed.
We definitely
You
had
know?
to take care of Maroney after that. We'll talk about that later, but.
Yeah, and then the really fucked, like, new things started happening.
Yeah.
So Scott had a deed to the stronghold. That was like one of the things he got with the,
That gave him
card.
ownership.
That proved it was his. And like one night he woke up and he was like behind the stronghold, standing outside with a shovel. And there were 3 graves, and they all had Strider as their last names, but their first names he just didn't know. He didn't recognize them. And he was like, fuck this, I'm going to bed.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
And he went back to bed. And then they all went to...
We did it it happened a couple of nights.
Yeah,
several. Up outside, and he was like, he told us after a while, like, I keep waking up outside, and I was like, you should just dig it up. You should just go deep and dig it up, see what's down there. That's the easiest way to find out what it is.
And they weren't there in the daytime. You guys went and
checked.
checked.
Exactly. We checked and looked all over the place, and they weren't there, but they were only there at night, and he was like, no, I'm not going to dig them up at night. I'm not doing it. And then we decided that we needed to go and, like, do something about this guy with the red goblin totem, you know. He became a problem or whatever.
I guess.
Yeah, I guess. And we all went to Ake.
Econ.
Yeah, which is like a military training ground.
Mm. It had, like, other wizards and other, like... It had all kinds of classes. It was cool.
Yeah.
It was like a city of military.
Yeah, exactly. And we went there and we were, like, talking to... I think it was, like, the court wizard of the town or whatever. And we were like, hey, we've got a problem. Yeah. This dude, yellow wizard, he took the red goblin totem. He definitely gave it to the bad guy in the north.
Or he's trying to, at least.
He's trying to, at least. Yeah, we need to hunt him down and get
APB and pull his wizard
and they actually have some stuff that can help you, but you still, like, have to go get him.
Yeah.
And then when you get him back, they're like, we can definitely keep him if you can get him here. Like,
yeah, right.
And
it was like we talked to him, and then I went to bed that night, and we all went to bed that night after we talked to him.
In Ake.
Yeah, and I woke up outside of Brule in the fortress with a shovel in my hands in front of 3 gravestones. And
which is like a
just said that he should dig up the gravestones if he is put in that situation next time. And I was like, well, shit.
And
if I'm going to say it, I have to do it. So I dug up one of the graves.
Just some spooky shit.
And fucking, as soon as he digs it up enough, the coffin itself actually just starts to float out of the dirt for a second. And he's like, oh, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, that's bad.
And then it opens, and this vampire with, like, super stereotypical, like, crossed arms over his chest, like floats out, like, stiff as a board, like, opens his arms up and, like, yawns, and he's like, it's been, like, 3,000 fucking years.
Too long.
And there were, like, actually, I think, chains on his coffin, too, that, like, when you dug it up, they, like, burst or whatever.
They just flew off.
And he was like, yeah, like, I'm so glad you dug me up, man. Like, I am so...
I was like, oops.
I'm so fucking hungry, and it's definitely a vampire. And he's like, do me a favor, and dig up my wife and son, too.
If you don't.
And I was like,
I'm gonna
no.
murder you.
He was like, no. And the vampire's just like, look, I'm fucking starving. So I'm gonna go to town and have a meal. And you're gonna
like that's gonna happen.
And you're going to dig up my wife and son, or tomorrow you'll be my meal.
So I proceeded to run into the castle like a big baby bitch.
Triple B, if you will.
A triple B.
A triple B, if you will. And I locked the door, and I set my Hawk Valor.
Wait, no, just before this, though, you actually... I think you guys brought the Yellow Wizard to Ake, because you had him back at your stronghold. No, maybe it was that next day.
Yeah.
I think they brought him back when...
we may have captured him, and
he... Because the wizards kept
him a little bit.
Yeah, the wizards...
I know I was there for the torturing part, because I punched him in the face a couple of times.
Yeah.
So you have some torture dungeons.
No, we didn't put him in our castle. We have regular dungeons there.
Torture dungeons.
But where we were in Ake, they were like, yeah, we have advanced interrogation methods.
Yeah.
Over the
We
door.
call this waterboarding.
Oh man, that's kind of what it was.
Oh, man.
They were lawful neutral the whole town. And so it was like, it's not against our rules, this is how we interrogate.
The person that was giving them the rules was lawful or chaotic neutral. So
That's right. It's so bad.
It's how the town was run.
yeah, they needed information about a terrorist.
So I edited that out.
Ah man, okay, but so
Okay, if anybody's played D&D, they know how it gets.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
torture dungeons.
Exactly. It's terrible.
Hey, he was a terrorist. He gave the red goblin totem to the necromancer.
Yeah, he
and
did.
He still did.
He still got it to him. That was one of the things when you guys caught him.
Yeah.
And then so you have him in your castle and everything, and then the vampire night happens, and you actually
I get teleported back, and they have
the wizards put a Geos on him that was even because they used like 4 or 5 of them to do it.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, he has to do whatever Jack Jackson says, and Jack Jackson's first thing is like, you have to listen to my party, just in general. And AJ still couldn't betray you at this point, so he still couldn't order the wizard to betray you.
Which was made clear.
Immediately.
And then, so the wizard lived with them for a bit, and Sam would punch him in the face, and they would make him do spells and stuff. And then that's when this vampire stuff was happening, something like that. I think you were in another city. I don't know if it was 8.
Something. And I got teleported back, and I dug up the head vampire.
Yeah, that stuff. And then
I ran like a bitch into the castle.
And because you used the yellow wizard to get a hold of. No, you used your falcon.
Yeah, I used my falcon.
Yeah, you used your falcon. Yeah, you had a valor to me.
Valor to me.
But so you used the falcon, and they were like, okay, well, we're like a day's journey. So
see you soon.
That town's definitely gonna get feasted on. That's not my fault.
So they all got to the castle, and then they were like, okay, so what are we gonna do? Because it's now nighttime.
Like, what happened? And I was like, I don't know. I just woke up and he was out.
I lied through my teeth.
Yeah, he did.
The whole time. And they were trying so hard to get me.
I was so
to
mad because
confess.
you wouldn't tell us the truth.
I was like, no, I did not do this. I did not.
So then Sam and Nicole, this is happening. They're having this argument in the real world, and while that's happening, I'm talking to Scott, and I'm like, "Hey, Scott, there's a knock on the door, and it's nighttime, right?" And Scott opens the door, and I'm like, "It's a dwarf who looks strikingly similar to you, a little bit more pale, maybe." And Scott's like, Grandpa, which is canon. It's his great grandfather or something like that. Yeah. He was 3,000 at least years older, right. But he was the same royalty. That's actually the lore that came into being where this stronghold was from. It was his originally, but now it was Scott's. And he's like, yeah, I'm basically your granddad. You're still royalty, and that's because of my family. We were crazy royalty, vampires and stuff. Yeah, and he's like, so how are you doing? And they're having a conversation, and I literally vampire the shit out of Scott. You know how in movies or whatever, the vampire can always talk his way into the invitation? It was like hook, line, and sinker. I just talked to Scott, and then he's like, do you mind if I come in? Scott's like, come on in. Grandpa. And the vampire immediately is gaseous form, and it's looking for Sam at maximum speed flying around. And Sam and Nicole are still arguing because Nicole wants Sam to admit that he fucking did this. He took us out. And as that's happening, I'm like, hey guys. And they're like, what? And I'm like, a vampire poofs into material right next to you. And you're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, Scott let him in. And you guys are like, what the fuck? You're so Scott! It was amazing. And he's like, he's my grandpa! And they're like, what the fuck? No, really?
You guys feel like cliffhanger really?
I mean, I think that's on you. How do you want to do it? Podcast master?
Cliffhanger this one to give you something to want to listen back in on.
That's right.
Right where we're leaving off.
More
Scott's great grandpa. Just poofed in front of Sam and Nicole's characters and is ready to really destroy your shit.
Yeah, he's
just
not
push it in further.
He definitely doesn't like me.
But you can pick up on that on part 2 of this Askiah campaign, Talk Through Askiah 1.0. This has been Dungeons and Dialogue with your D&D channel. Pretty much sitting in on us. This has been Joey.
I'm Dylan.
Nicole.
Ultimate Lord Master Sam, 69.
I think at some point we can stop introducing ourselves.
Probably.
No, we can't. We have to do it every time.
It's like,
I just came up with a new thing.
Sam picks a dumbass name every week. That's the new segment on the show.
You should start really lore crafting and
yeah. Right. slayers.
Never be out of character. This has been Alfonso.
My name is Alfonso Green, and I will talk to you next time.
Catch us out on what?
revoir.
Instagram?
Yeah.
The Twitters.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
YouTube,
YouTube, Twitch.
Twitch, yeah.
All of them are your D&D channel, all one word. You should be able to find them.
Right.
If not, there's definitely links in the description. And if you're listening on other
formats.
things, I'm sure we put it there.
If
like
we ever get to like Stitcher or the app.
yeah, we're working on it.
One of these days.
We're gonna honestly, by the time this one's up, I'll be surprised if they're not already on those things. So
One of these days.
yeah, I hope. But yeah, so we're on all of it.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Check you next time.
thank you for tuning in.
That's
and-
not true.
we have the links and please hire us. For what? I don't know. Please hire us. But yeah, thank you for tuning in with your ears and listening to us talk about
And sometimes your eyes.
And laughing with your face holes.
For the
Hopefully,
scans.
hopefully it's been funny. I really hope.
Yeah, probably not though.
We'll catch you guys next time when we probably wrap up Askiah 1.0 and set the tide for Askiah 2.0.
That's right.
Catch you guys later.
Ah!